Good afternoon, Matt Jolis with you here on a very special edition of And That's the Game. As usual, our lower third byline usually says breaking news, and it's just because we're talking about the news of the day. This one actually comes with breaking news. Auburn University has fired head coach Gus Malzahn of the Auburn University football team effective immediately. This comes after Auburn just yesterday beat Mississippi State 24-10. They finish the regular season, which was an SEC conference only season, at a 6-4 record that puts them third in the SEC division that they play in. It would put them overall about third or fourth, given Florida's loss yesterday, dropping Florida to 8-2. It puts them just 2 games behind Florida, who has the third best record overall in the SEC. Puts Alabama 1, Florida 2, Texas A&M 3, Auburn 4. Malzahn, in his 8 years at the helm of Auburn football, and this is why this doesn't make sense to me, 68-34 overall. He led them to the national championship game in 2013. He competed in 2 other New Year's Day, New Year's 6 bowl games, and had an absolutely great record, not just overall, but in the SEC as well. This makes no sense. The comment made by Auburn Director of Athletics Alan Green was, after evaluating the state of the Auburn football program, we've decided that it was time to make a change in leadership. We appreciate everything that Gus did for the program over the last 8 years. We will begin a search immediately for a coach that can help the Auburn program consistently compete at the highest level. Defensive coordinator Kevin Steele will take over as the interim head coach. You're looking for a coach that can consistently help Auburn compete at the highest level. In the last 8 years, you've won a national championship. You've competed in 2 other New Year's 6 bowl games. You have been in the top 3 or 4 in the SEC as a whole. You have gone to SEC championship games. You have a coach who has gone 68-34 in 8 years. Where you play 11 games in a season. If you go 68-34 in the NBA, if you go 68-34 in the NHL, if Major League Baseball was an 82-game season and you went 68-34, which is not 82, that's a little bit more. Look at the math, Auburn. 68-34 in a record where that was an entire season would get you a contract extension. I'm not sure what Auburn is saying here. And most specifically, this is directed at Auburn Athletic Director Alan Green. Please, somewhere in the midst of tomorrow, somewhere in the midst of next week, please explain what you mean by we will begin search immediately for a coach that can help Auburn's program consistently compete at the highest level. Because your program is at the highest level. You play in the SEC. You finish in the top 4 in the SEC. You win national championships. You go to New Year's Day 6 bowl games. You go to at least a New Year's Day bowl game. You're not playing in the, Amazon.com Tidy Bowl. I'm trying to figure out what Auburn means by consistently compete at the highest level. The news is breaking all throughout It just doesn't make sense. Malzahn will get a $21 million buyout, part of his 7-year, $49 million contract that was signed 2 seasons ago. He's gone 39-27 in the SEC. He's led Auburn to an SEC championship, a BCS championship game. Auburn lost that national title clash to Florida State. They won the SEC West in 2017. They entered in the SEC championship game only to lose to a very good Georgia team. Malzahn has gone 3-5 in his 8 seasons against Alabama. 3-5, including the 48-45 win in 2019. Now, granted, Alabama did beat them 42-13 this year. But Gus Malzahn is one of the few coaches who was able to beat Alabama with Nick Saban at the helm. When you look at all the stats, when you put all of it together, and sure, everybody wants the big money deals of coaches to be able to add up to championships. It is this win now attitude that has perverted sports, not just at the college level, but at the pro level as well, too. It's if you can't win now, we're just going to find somebody else to do it. But this is also why in college sports, there is an absolute disaster in the whole entirety of this situation. 2 years ago, just 2 years ago, you seemed to think that Gus Malzahn was the godsend from heaven. You give him a 7-year contract extension worth $49 million to coach college football. We're not talking about a professor. We're not talking about a research scientist who's going to make some groundbreaking discovery. We're not talking about an engineer. We're talking about a college football coach. Now, granted, I love sports and I love college football, which is why I do the job that I do, which is why I have these shows. But let's talk about this for a second from another perspective. If you're going to give that much money to a college football coach 2 years ago, you certainly believed in him then, and it's really weird that in this of all years, you don't believe in him now. Yes, their 6-4 season included 3 blowout losses to Alabama, Georgia, and Texas A&M, all of whom are ranked in the top 10. Those 3 teams, Alabama, Georgia, Texas A&M, are the 3 teams in the SEC overall who are above Auburn, who finishes right behind those 3 teams in 4th. That's all that needs to be said about that. Yes, they had the bizarre loss to South Carolina. South Carolina had its own issues. There's just nothing about this that says it makes sense. Absolutely nothing about this that says that it makes sense. And that's the game. For December 13th, 2020, thank you all for tuning in this very special edition. Again, the breaking news headline, Auburn University has fired head coach Gus Malzahn after 8 seasons at the helm, after going 68-35, including a 6-4 record this year. They say that they will begin the search for a new head coach immediately, one who can lead the Auburn program to seasons consistently of success in the SEC and in NCAA college football. We'll have more as this story breaks out over the day and tomorrow on sfbnri.com. Don't forget to tune in and check out. And that's the game every Monday through Friday at 4 p.m. And I will, of course, always see you on Saturday mornings, 10 a.m. for Sports World Weekly. For all of us here at SFBN Rhode Island, thank you. Have a good night.